Hello everyone, I'm really sorry that our semester has turned out this way. I know some of you will be really upset about not being on campus with your friends, but we have to be stoical about it and make the so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing mainly online lectures. So I'm going to be putting short videos on Moodle for you all to access. They'll be 8 to 10 minutes each, covering the material that we were going to cover in the lecture. And then we'll be having other activities on Moodle, including readings, videos from other places, and some reflections and data analysis and things like that. Okay, so we're moving on to topic 4, which is food systems, agriculture, and marine resources, i.e. fish. I'm going to be dividing this up into multiple short screencasts. This is a first, so topic 4, screencast 1, and we're going to be talking about world food supply. So where are we in terms of world food supply right now in 2020? So in most countries, we are doing very well. Undernourishment is not a problem in most Western countries. That doesn't mean that there aren't people who don't have enough food in places like the United States. But generally speaking, this problem of undernourishment is something that is particularly restricted to parts of Africa, central parts of South America, and parts of Asia, as you can see in this map. But in some of these places, undernourishment is still a huge problem, and it fluctuates. Sometimes there will be periods when larger proportions of the population will be undernourished. But in some countries, still a third or more of the population is undernourished at this point in time. Just want to point out that we're using the word undernourished there, and a lot of people think that's synonymous with the term malnourished. These are very similar but subtly different. So undernourished basically means not getting enough food. Malnourished might mean that you're getting plenty of food in terms of quantity, but it's not healthy food. Okay, so you could eat 3 pizzas a day and be getting plenty of calories, but you would still be malnourished because you're not getting all the vitamins and minerals that you need to have a healthy body. As we saw in the map earlier, most countries around the world do not have major problems with undernourishment. And this is despite some forecasts a few decades ago where people were saying that this was going to be a major issue, that we were going to have global famines. Thankfully, that's not come to pass. And this is the reason why. You can see here in the red dashed line, that's the production in tons of world cereal since 1960. And you can see that that's more than kept pace with the growing population. So the population's more than doubled since 1960. That's on the right-hand axis here. This world's population has gone up from 3,000 million, i.e. 3 billion, to over 7 billion. But world production in terms of tonnage of cereal has increased even more rapidly than that. Amazingly, this success story has happened without expanding the amount of farmland that we're using. So you see the blue line there, that's the area of land that's under cereal production, and that has actually been pretty stable way back to the 1960s. And this is a really good thing because the truth is we don't have a lot of areas where we could expand cereal production into. A lot of the places where we're not currently growing cereals are just simply not suitable, either too wet, too dry, or too cold. So what that all means is we've got basically a finite, a stable amount of farmland, but more than a doubling of the population. What that means is that basically we have about half the amount of farmland per person as we did in the 1950s. So you can see here we've got hectares of arable land per person. Arable land is basically cultivated land, so land that is ploughed and planted with something. Hectares, so 2.47 acres in a hectare. So in 1950 we had slightly more than an acre of farmland per person, whereas now it's down to much less than that. And the reason we have not starved is because we have increased agricultural yield. So we're getting more than twice as much food per acre as we did in the 1950s. That's a phenomenal achievement. I'll go on to talk about how we've achieved that in Screencast 4.2. So where that leaves us right now is that we have a growing global food supply. And if you look at these charts, these show you the energy consumed in calories per person per day on the left-hand chart, and the protein consumed in grams per person per day on the right-hand chart. So this goes back to 1960, and you can see here we've got different parts of the world. Let's just have a look at some of these. So North America, first of all, you'll notice here that even in 1960, we were consuming more calories per person than we needed. You will know that on average, a standard daily minimum calorie recommendation is 2,200 calories. If you're a petite person, it might be a little bit less than that. If you're a larger person, it will be a little bit more. And certainly if you have a job that's very energetic or you're an athlete, you will require more still. But certainly now we've moved into this phase in the last few decades where we are in fact eating too much. We are having too many calories in a lot of Western countries. Globally, on average, we are now eating more calories than we need. So that's the black line. It started off right around about 2,200 calories, the global average in 1960, but now it's considerably more than that. So you see the red and the blue lines. So certain parts of the world have increased their calorie consumption pretty significantly. Notice the red dashed line for East Asia, how much the calorie consumption has gone up there since 1960. It's almost doubled. However, as we saw on the map earlier, there are still some countries where there isn't enough food, and they are shown in that grey bar at the bottom, the least developed countries, and in actual fact they are still not getting on average 2,200 calories per person per day, and that's been pretty much stable below that required intake since 1960. The right-hand bar shows protein consumption. So protein is largely from meats, fish, and dairy products. And again, we see the same patterns. Rapid increase in protein consumption over the last few decades. But again, these least developed countries are consuming a lot less protein. So way less than half of the protein per person that we consume in North America, for example. And again, significantly look at East Asia. This is where the most rapid population growth has gone on since the 1960s. Again, the amount of protein consumed per person there has pretty much doubled since the 1960s. In the next screencast, I'm going to talk about something called the Green Revolution, and that's how we've managed to increase food production so that it's outpaced population growth. So that will be in Screencast 4.2, so that will be on Moodle underneath the link for this screencast. Okay, thank you.